Yeah, after watching this movie, The Lost Kingdom definitely should have stayed lost. Hi, my name is Ryan Lane, and welcome to my review channel. So for today's movie, I will be reviewing Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, directed by James Wan and starring Jason Momoa, Patrick Wilson, Amber Heard, Yahya, Abdul-Mateen II, Randall Park, Dolph Lundgren, Temura, Morrison, and Nicole Kidman. So, set a few years after the events of the original film, Arthur Curry, aka Aquaman, played by Jason Momoa, he's got a bit on his table at the moment. He's dealing with the responsibilities of raising a child with his now wife, Mara, played by Amber Heard. He's fighting crime, and most annoying of all, he's dealing with Atlantean politics. And this tranquil yet strained status quo is interrupted when Black Manta, aka David Kane, played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, discovers the Black Trident and decides to go on a one-man quest to get revenge against Aquaman over the death of his father, even if he has to, kill the planet alongside with Aquaman. Anyway, seeing as how this would kind of put a, major downer on his whole family situation, Aquaman decides to seek out his estranged brother and former ocean master Orm, played by Patrick Wilson, and go on a quest to find and stop Black Manta. Along the way, while hopefully, mending their relationship. So the performances are okay, okay to decent kind of on that spectrum. Jason Momoa is decent as always as Aquaman, even if his character arc of, learning to actually, be a king isn't all that well executed, because everyone gives him speeches, about leadership and being a king and like, oh, if you lead, the seven seas will follow. It's like, but I don't know, the film doesn't, follow through on that much. You never feel like Aquaman learns how to, do the politics part of, leading as opposed to just, the brute force punching stuff part. Patrick Wilson, I will say, he's given a bit more interesting material to work with compared to the last film. But the unfortunate part is this doesn't add up to a more interesting dynamic between the two characters of Aquaman and Orm, because, well, the film isn't really interested. It feels more interested in going from action set piece to action set piece, which aren't all that great to begin with. More on that in a minute. So the rest of the cast, their material is either weak or practically non-existent. Randall Park, he's stuck desperately trying to wrest as much charm as he possibly can out of a cliched, guilt-ridden science. The one, it's like, oh, I got into science, so to make discoveries, not to hurt people, he's not terrible, he's just fine, he won't annoy you, but he won't really compel you either. Abdul-Mateen II, he was alright as a secondary villain. He has a very simple goal: revenge against Aquaman. For, being a secondary antagonist in the first film, that was fine. But Abdul-Mateen II, he's unable to make this goal interesting as a primary antagonist in the new movie. So, I don't know, he's alright. He's just a very basic villain with not much interesting characterization to him. And then the rest of the cast just barely has any material to work with at all. They're there, they have lines, but they barely do anything relevant to the plot at times. It kind of makes you wonder why they even bothered to return for the movie. Willem Dafoe, he probably realized how little he was going to be used, and that's probably why he didn't agree to be in this movie. Yeah, spoilers on that. Willem Dafoe doesn't return for the sequel. So the writing features the outline of a decent film. The idea of Aquaman teaming up with his half-brother Orm, to defeat Manta, mend the relationship, it has potential, but the film is just too cliched and rushed, to make good on this potential. Much of the plot points are borrowed heavily from prior comic book movies. Heck, even Avatar: The Way of Water is ripped off. I know the film only came off a year ago, but still, seeing similar plot beats in this movie done, less effectively just doesn't help. Plus, the plot feels rushed, as if the filmmakers realized just how ineffective the talking scenes were, and they were like, okay, we gotta get to the action scenes, because this movie is not going to entertain people based off of its human drama, or, fish drama. You get what I mean. The film also introduces an Atlantean council that Aquaman has to deal with. He's like, hey, maybe we should reveal ourselves to the surface. And they're like, nah, we kind of hate surface dwellers. And I don't know, the Atlantean Council, they don't do too much outside of one or two things that you go, okay, all right, they're kind of useless. Kind of like real life Congress. Ba-dum. And then there's the visual effects. So compared to the last movie, which had chaotic yet controlled cinematography to accompany the CGI action, this film's visual effects are surprisingly sloppy. There's awkward slow motion at times throughout the movie, and then there's, the action scenes are just way too fast. Like, they're so hyperactively shot and edited, you could barely tell what's going on half the time. Which is a shame, because the set design looks good. It feels like, a movie with better action scenes, could really stand out and help this film be visually appealing. I mean, there's an underwater bar, and seeing how the characters, actually, drink underwater looks cool, but, the film doesn't exactly explore the potential. It's just, punching stuff, which, isn't all that interesting. Also, on a side note, I should know I saw this movie in 3D. And yeah, the 3D did not work for me. I mean, if you are on the fence about whether or not you want to see this movie in 3D, my recommendation is don't. The 3D, I just couldn't get used to it for the entire runtime, and it just proved too distracting for me. It made the visual effects just seem off, probably even more so than they already are in the standard definition version of the movie. So thanks to a by-the-numbers plot and lackluster action scenes, The Lost Kingdom proves to be a kingdom that should have just stayed hidden. So with all that in mind, I will be giving Aquaman and The Lost Kingdom 2 out of 5 stars. Anyway, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. If you like this review and would like to see more like it, be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. And for today's comment section prompt of the day, what is your favorite James Wan movie and why?